This is the friction point, right? We have to get past it. Now, here's the coolest thing that I want you to look at, right? Is that if someone asked me on the break, hey, do you still look for permission? Or once I make a decision, do you still look for permission? No. You know why? Because your customers give it to you. Like once you launch or you decide to go, like Katie, let me ask a question. Your teammates who you are competing with, how much permission are they now giving you to continue to be awesome? None. Zero. Ed Clay, when you work with pro fighters and pro athletes, how easy is their life?
Pretty easy.
What's that?
It seems pretty easy.
Seems pretty easy?
If I'm training, I'll make it as easy as possible for them. All they got to do is show up and train.
All they got to do is show up and train. Okay. But let's say like these guys go 3, 5, 6, 7, 9 years.
Oh, it's just super hard. I mean, it's hard on the body. Absolutely.
In mind, just
and
the mental grind.
Yeah, absolutely.
To become that unifocused on stuff. How is it with the art? Ed, some of you guys don't know about Ed. Ed traveled with and has trained some of like the professional like music, country artists and stuff like that. How hard is it on them mentally? Just out of curiosity.
It's super hard because a lot of them rely on alcohol before they get on stage to numb the stage fright. And it's a grind that most people don't know. And you're on the road constantly. So, I mean, if you're on the road from Wednesday to every Sunday, you get two days back at home.
Yep.
And you're back at home, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're on the road again. And you do that, all year round. It's really rough.
It's funny. I had the privilege of representing an NFL athlete who really made a bad mistake and beat his wife up. And we were talking about it, and it led to her. We hired a private detective and all that. But I remember having a conversation with him when I was practicing law, and I asked him, why'd he do it? I just had to know. I'm that guy, right? I'm the guy who goes and counsels someone in prison. I have to know why, right? It's the first question you're not supposed to ask. I just wanted to know. Right. And he said something really interesting to me that you just struck a nerve with. He said, when I'm in front of 65,000 people, and they're all cheering my name, and I go home, and my wife's like, here's a vacuum, change some diapers.
Yeah, totally.
I had a disconnect,
Totally.
and I had a short circuit in my brain. I suspect that's some of the stuff that happens when they're coming back home to life, and they got to pay a bill, run to the post office, do this stuff. It's not the same stardom they're getting on the road, right?
Yes, and they're used to people saying yes, 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 and then real people, their friends or
Yeah.
life, say no.
It's hard to decompress that,
Hey,
right?
hey, what's really important on that, and I'm glad we're filming this, is because I think that's where like people ask me about Kokoro camp and like what it was training with the SEALs and being 51 hours in, and what was the chaos like. Chaos was freaking easy because I was so used to being in my kitchen with 7 kids and like this stuff. And the fact that like I change more diapers in a day than most people do like their whole life, like, but like seriously, like at midnight when your kid wakes up, or 1:30 in the morning when your kid wakes up and you got to go like change the diaper, do what you got to do, do you make a perceptual shift in your head of like, cool, I got this, this is easy, not a problem, I like this, I'm good? Or even as entrepreneurs, are you like, well, I'm above this, I can hire someone to do this? Like, where's that mental shift? I think it happens, like, I remember my first big, like, takeoff, I thought I was above everything, man. I was like, oh my God, we're kicking ass, we're making ass, people were telling me how great I was. Like, I had to go through a little bit of that, like shrink your head back down, because it's just not real. It's all fake stuff. And I think most athletes, and you see it with celebrities, I think you see it with a lot of these even young guys who are just skyrocketing. The world is designed to blow that up for you. Like, it's not designed for, like, people are waiting. Like Conor McGregor loses one fight and the whole world just jumps in, like it's saying how he's a punk and whatever. Like, it's just designed for you. Like, there's a certain population who like that undertow effect, which I haven't talked about yet. So what I want to do right now is go over something. How many of you watched the videos on modeling that I posted into the thing? Great, I'm glad. 3. Good job, guys. Got a lot of high achievers here. So the concept of leapfrogging starts with an idea that you have a model, like number 1, model, okay? Now, the whole idea of this is that if one person can do it, I can replicate it. That's that's the underlying belief system of it. Jerry, you replicate everybody's traffic and steals it very kindly.
Stealing is kind of,
Permanently borrowing.
I like that. From the
Said the
attorney.
lawyer in the room.
Yes.
Yeah. So modeling, we have like things like where you can reverse engineer business models and stuff like that. But one thing I think is overlooked, and especially like with these videos, and I told a couple of guys at break, like next time I run this, I'm gonna have transcripts of all those things, because modeling is not just like physically what you model. I think that's the easiest way to model people. But mentally, like what is their operating belief system, value structure, and identity that allows them to behave a certain way, right? Kim, we've talked on our interview, like 6 to 8 weeks is when you start seeing the radical transformation kick in at like a identity level. Like now, if I identify with myself differently, I now behave totally different because the world's important, things that have changed, right? Make sense? Darren, you probably see the same thing. 6 to 8 weeks, right? Yeah, that's why like whenever people come into CrossFit, I'm always like, hey, I just do one favor for me. And they don't pay me even though they should. I'm like, stay 6 weeks. Well, I signed up for the next 30 days. No, just trust me. Like, get to 6 weeks, and you'll never look back. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to stay in this. You're going to be a different person because your neurology is going to require a different behavior moving forward, right? And so we look at models, right? And one thing I think we're kind of in this like weird phase, I'll just speak from my own perception, is that with Facebook, the more you're on Facebook or on stuff, you're seeing all these YouTube or Facebook video ads and whatever of like the next, hey, how to be a high ticket coach and how to be this. And what they really should say is how I changed from being a sales rep to just charging a lot to be on the phone with people, right? And how I charge a lot differently. That's what most high ticket coaches are. They just get on the phone with people. They just charge like $70,000 rather than get commissions. So everybody's that now. So you mentally now go like, well, God, if that guy's doing it, and what we have to like guard ourselves is that we just project ourselves into that and want to take action on that. So what I like to do in the next 7 to 10 minutes is walk you through a couple of things that I laid out, right? And I already shared with you how when I was an athlete, I had the one identity shift, and the structure behind it was step one, I was in a competitive environment. 2, external source or person gives me his perception of me. All right? It was a higher, greater perception that I had of myself. Step 3, I had external validation because the tournament named me first team. Step 4, I adopted it and internalized it. All right? Step 5, I behaved and saw myself differently. I saw myself differently, so my behavior changed. That's some of the structure of what went on, okay? I put myself in an environment. Some outside source came up to me that I gave credibility to. I got it validated. I adopted it, and then I went and my behavior changed because my identity shifted, okay? That's structure. Does that make sense on why that's structure? It's not the content, right? So now the next thing that happened is is like with Dennis Profits, to give you a little bit, I'm going to lay out 5 or 7 steps here, but skill set acquisition was on the front side of this, by the way, because this will come up again. Okay, so Dennis Profits was on the flip side was, I had this big awareness. Big awareness was I was in the wrong business, right? I need to be in something else. What might that be? Curiosity questions. Like, wouldn't it be better if I was making $1,000 or $100,000 a month instead of, whatever I was doing at the time, right? $39 ebooks. That was the awareness moment, right? It was on the front side of it. People undermine this awareness component. You guys got to be studying. I mean, one of the exercises I'm going to put in there, I promise you, I'll get this in the next 10 days. Hold me accountable to it. I'm going to find 21 interviews, and then each day, like of billionaires, decamillionaires, like listen to one micro interview a day and just let it infuse in your brain, because they all come at this like, well, one day I was just, and then bam, something happened. Okay? So Dennis Profits was step one. I was aware that my life needed to change. In this business, I need to change the business. Number two, I got a model. Okay? Actually, 1.B was what? I offered to, with those guys, I offered to what? Work for free. What did they say? No. Great. Here's your other option. So I found a model. Okay? Step three, acquired credibility or asset. Okay? What did I need to learn how to do in this space? So I started looking at acquire credibility. It's when I licensed the product, right? Or licensed the stuff. So if you go back to my mental toughness business, one thing I realized was that during that is that copywriting was going to be the gateway. I had heard someone say like, well, if you start, your income is in direct correlation to your ability to write sales copy, right? And I always say like, there's a disclaimer here. Since that time, you can become really, really good at other stuff and like, so I don't want people like watching this going, oh, I'm going to become a copywriter now. Slow down. There's a bigger picture. But at that time when this goes back, I was 24, 25, maybe 25-ish. I'm 40 now. 15 years ago, it's a pretty good, great skill set to have. I mean, you could always still make money. I mean, you write sales copy, learn how to sell. But when I went into Dennis Profits, we were running space ads, like trade magazine ads, generating leads, and then following up with a 40-page direct mail sales letter. No kidding, man, right? And so I acquired the credibility. I had to work on this skill set system. So I don't know if I want to call it that, but let's just call it, I had a model, we acquired it something. I'm going to call this skill set acquisition and grind. So I identified my, I'm going to move this down here, it's 3. I identified my top 3, 1 to 3 skill sets. Okay? So this is the system. Like this is the system that I'll run through almost everything we do is what's the 1 to 3 skill sets? What is the one skill set that if I mastered it would make all the difference in the world? And then to parlay that, at this time in my life, copywriting excited me. Randy was one of the first to tell me like, oh man, you really get excited about this marketing stuff, blah, 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 blah. I'm at a stage in my life now where, 15 years later, I really don't want to sit down and write copy for the next 5 days. Like that's just not where I'm at, right? Even though if you read that health intensive supplement sales letter, it's badass. It's 80 pages long. It's so good, dude. It's just filled with good stuff. Identify one thing, skill set acquisition and grind. So for me personally, this is me personally, when I decided, hey, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going in, then it's blinders are on, the world gets pushed away, and this is what we're doing.
Just grind.
Grind. I put grind up there. I know a lot of people don't like to feel that working hard is actually part of time collapsing, but it's just stupidity that would think that it's not. Right? You got to grind it out. Like that's, You can watch a video on how to take somebody down, right? But the one guy who does it 1,000 times is more likely to take your ass down than you. Didn't like Lloyd win like the judo like national championship with like 1 or 2 moves? Something like that? Yeah. Okay? So skill set, acquisition, grind. Now here's how I approach this, right? So I was like, so what the crazy thing was is like when they sold me the license, they're like, okay, you do this like work at home stuff like that. You just do direct mail, they come in. And I was like, oh, cool. So in the fax machine, we started getting 3, 5, 6, 7 sales a day. And these sales would be anywhere between like $250 in installments to, pay in full for $997. So I went from like pretty much zero to making, literally like, $3,000 to $4,000 a day, like the ad said I would. The problem was the course kind of sucked, and I didn't really know that because I thought it was awesome. And B, there's a lot of people that want to talk on the phone. So then my mentors at the time were like, well, you got to get phone salespeople. I'm like, I don't want phone salespeople. I mean, I could like talk to these freaking people. I don't want to talk to these people. I thought this is like mail order business. You just get checks and you make money. You're rich. You go like and get on a boat and whatever. Anyhow, so we had to learn how to do the next process, which was like, okay, cool. We got to figure out a salesperson. I got to fill out an ask. So these were all just like now scaling parts of it. And then for like speaking in front of people, I never knew how to sell on stage. And all of a sudden, I had opportunities to go sell on stage in the dental profession. So what I did is I would listen to audio tapes of guys who could close rooms. And I remember in my car, I would play their sales pitch, and then I would pause it, and then I would sit in my car, and I would try and regurgitate word by word, verbatim, not hypothetically, not sort of like verbatim what they had said. I'd rewind it until I got that 30 seconds, then I go the next 30 seconds, got it. And then I'd be able to do it, so I could actually would be able to do the whole presentation from stage. And I could probably do it right now if I wanted to, but that was my skill set acquisition grind. So like the speaking on stage thing, like selling on stage, like no one likes to like go sell on stage until you know how to sell on stage. Well, how are you gonna know you're gonna sell on stage? Well, you gotta have a little bit of that gap of throwing your crotch at it, right? How to be a badass, right, Katie? So, so this was the skill set acquisition grind, right? And then other models started popping up, right? So around this time, like Dan Sullivan's strategic coach started coming up. Joe Polish launched his Genius Network. So in the dental world, we started like our first dental group coaching, dental group, just group coaching, I'll put, before anyone was doing it. I think Tom Morant was doing it, whatever, but more models popped up. So I evolved into these other models, right? And then after a certain period of time, I sold off, I'll just give you the exit. I sold off one department. We added new profit centers, And then we ended up selling one of those off, and then I let the business run down as I transitioned to the health supplement business. Okay? Now, health supplement business, my initial goal was, well, I'm gonna totally flush down the toilet the disaster story, because it's on video and whatever. You could watch that. This is more about moving forward. Number one was I decided to go to direct mail because it was an old long-term market, and my strategy there. So I chose my market. Chose my consultant. She went out and got the credibility. So she went out and got the doctor, the copywriter, and they came to me with like, on all the market research behind the supplements, they came to me with like, here's all these high quality products. The doctor was one of the leading doctors in longevity, and they gave me like, a market analysis of like, this is what it looks like, this is why we would choose these ingredients, this is the research behind them, go, right? So I didn't have to do any of that, right? So then we launched in there, we did some testing, which let's just say it's the same thing as like, I didn't even put that over there. And then we scaled the direct mail. Well, guess what? I was cash poor. We evolved into internet, and then we grew the business, right? So my structure that if I step back and I kind of look at this, there's comparables? Number one, competitive environment. Competitive environment, when we looked at the model. Like that was a total comparable that everything I've ever done, I've gone into competitive environments. Or where I've had breakthroughs. I could probably list out 8 things that I tried to do the easy route or where no one's at, and there's nothing there. Like those all like failed. Credibility's in here, right? External source person, credibility, external model. Identify 1 to 3 skill sets. This is never anything, right? That's my system. That's kind of what's worked for me. So what I want you to do now is let's go through this together, right? Because see, the thing is that's Ed's system. That's not your system. There's probably elements of that system that work for you. But the one thing that's very important here is when you identify the 1 to 3 skill sets, the one question you got to ask yourself is, how does my superpower or thing I'm awesome with align with this skill set that needs to penetrate past the 100, the invisible friction line, okay? So there's certain things, because like Jerry and I have been going back and forth, there's certain things he is brilliant at that my superpower and my personality, just, I can't do it. Like, it's one of those things that it's just like, it is so much arduous, like, I suck at that, dude. How do you do that? But it's so easy for him. It's light for him, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so the problem with modeling is that guys don't, here's my model, here's my thing, here's my identify my 1 to 3 skill sets. It looks like a good business. Does it align with my superpower? That's the secret. Because if it's arduous, it's frustrating, if it's overwhelming to the point where you don't like it, it's probably not in alignment with what your superpower is. So you either got to go acquire it, outsource it, sell it, whatever you got to do, get somebody else to do it. I'm a marketing guy. I could probably figure out some decent PR, right? Decent. If I went all in, applied that system, we could do it. Isn't it so much easier to have someone else who's already a pro at it, who lights it up, do it for you? Hey everybody, it's Ed O'Keefe, and thanks for watching that video.
Hi.
We're sitting here at Target. My team needed a quick video to say thank you and invite you to our mega conference, which there should be a link right above me, or to the side of me, or over here, or subscribe. I don't know, whatever else we put up there. If you haven't gotten the free book yet, Time Collapsing.
Look at me.
Keeg, stop it.
This is the
Please do that now. So check it out. You can be busy. You can have a family. You can be asked to do crazy things and be successful on your own terms, like we're doing it here at Time Collapsing Academy, at Time Collapsing, and then how we do it with our supplement businesses and our mentoring programs. So be yourself, be awesome, and I'll see you at hopefully a live event, because that's where all the beauty and magic happens. That's it. Peace.